Jackson Radio Show.
Welcome back, everybody. Kevin Jackson here. It's the Kevin Jackson Show. KJRadio.com. The president is in his whirlwind tour through Asia, the South Pacific, and he's rocking it. He started out in Japan, then he went to South Korea. Very powerful message that he's sending. I will visit our partners before I visit China. And let me tell you, Japan, important trade partner. They hold, I don't know the exact number. I know it's trillions of dollars of debt, of American debt, but they have a $70 billion deficit to the United States in terms of trade. That's an annual number. We buy a lot of Japanese products, still always have and probably always will. But then he left Japan and he went to South Korea. And what's significant about that is another big trading partner. Korea, let me give you the Japan numbers because I've talked about these before on TV and we should talk about them here. Japan is a response. They're about 1.68% of the world's population, but they are 8% of the world's GDP. That's a big number. Per capita, that makes them a very, very strong trading partner. Korea is about 2.3% of the world's GDP. And so you can see a good chunk, a decent sized chunk. I don't know the population of South Korea, but it's significant. And but anyway, it's a decent sized trading partner. And as you guys probably notice when you go into Best Buy and some of these electronics places, it's dominated by Korean products. So Japan to even hold its own while Korea is coming up is pretty significant. And those are two of our big partners that we provide lots of protection for, but their economies are booming because they follow the nature of America, and their economies are booming. So between those two, we're talking about 10% of the world's GDP. United States is a quarter of the world's GDP. And of course, now let's pivot over to China. And that's another 25% or so of the world's GDP. And you're talking about a significant portion of what is going on in the world happening right there. We're talking about 62, 63% of the GDP. It's very easy to wrangle in a Russia when you have that kind of power located right there. North Korea, the only thing they offer is a threat. And it's a minuscule threat. It's being overblown, overhyped by the media in order to diminish President Trump's capabilities over there by saying, well, they're really big and we better pay attention. And look at him. He's neglecting him. Donald Trump knows exactly how big North Korea is. They're a fly in the ointment at best. And so if he can wrangle China, which he will be able to, because that $347 billion deficit that is part of their economy of shipping products to the United States can easily be replaced. Yeah, I said it. It can easily be replaced. People go, oh, Kevin, you can't get things made cheaper than in China. The stuff that we get made in China, we can get made anywhere. China isn't making stuff that we're like, oh, how are we going to get these stupid lead-filled toys? And somebody can step in and make our junk. And here's the thing, the Chinese don't have, it's not like they go, well, if the Americans won't buy our lead-filled junky toys, we'll sell them to Africa. No, there's no other, where are you going to buy, where are you going to sell them? I mean, I don't know about you. How much cheaper can you get, MP players and all? Everything's being integrated. It's all practically in your phone. Believe me, manufacturing is not going to be all that it's cracked up to be in the next decade. And the Chinese need to realize that. And we realize it. The productivity is going to come elsewhere. And that's going to derive from the places that follow the American system. I talked about ingenuity the other day. That's where that comes in. But anyway, Russia's big, the thing that props up their GDP is their oil. Their ability to, the pipelines that service Europe and Poland, various places in Europe, and they can hold them hostage over that. The Chinese have a lot of oil. And if Donald Trump decides I'm going to make Russia my enemy by going after these oil Believe me, he can make it rough on Russia. I've already talked about how big the economy is. I mean, our GDP of our partners. You want to know what the GDP is of the Soviet Union, of Russia? It's not the Soviet Union anymore. The largest country by land mass, Russia, has an economy that's 1/10 the size of the United States. 1/10. When you start talking about superpowers, it's very difficult to put Russia in the mix. Other than missiles, if you want to destroy everything, congratulations, Russia's up there. They're a superpower. They're 1/10 our economy. The Chinese economy, which is equal, it's the largest GDP in the world in terms of actual number. It's like slightly ahead of us, maybe by half of a percentage point. So we're at 24.8, they're at 25.2, something like that. Okay, but when you factor in the idea that China has 5 times more people than the United States, then you put that GDP in perspective, because GDP is based on productivity of people. So the Chinese are 1/5 as productive as the United States. And what's that going to do as we start to recycle and bring manufacturing and things back to America, when we can become even more self-sufficient, where these trade imbalances begin to go away? They've already started. We've already started rectifying our trade imbalance with Canada. We've started rectifying our trade imbalance with China. We're now exporting beef to China. We couldn't do that before. We're exporting coal to China. They used to get that from North Korea. So as these trade imbalances shift back, then you'll see America will start to revitalize its engine. And people who are working and earning money will be willing to pay a little bit more for something. And here's the thing about manufacturing. The issue with manufacturing is it gets much more easy to do. In other words, once you automate something to the point where you don't need people, you don't have to do it in China. We don't have a whole lot of labor-intensive stuff. Now, if you do a bunch of one-offs, China's good. And I'm just saying the Chinese market is a great market. I'm not knocking it. A lot of the products that you're going to want to get, the products like that Alibaba will be bringing to the million jobs that he says he can create in America, are going to be specialty items like bobblehead dolls or whatever. You're going to want to get something done quickly. But look, 3D printing, manufacturing, it's all going to be something that can come back on shore. And as long as we stabilize our dollar and stabilize our economy, we can move a lot of that GDP back and change these trade deficits. So President Trump's trip to the Far East is really a show of force. It's a show of, look at the places where you want to do business, China. You want to sell to Japan. You want to sell to South Korea. You want to sell to America. Those are the largest economies per capita in the world. You better play along. And don't think this isn't going unnoticed in the world stage. Trump doesn't want to fight with you. He's going to fight with you with our economy. Anyway, short break. We'll be back. Keep it here.
This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show.